Employ local and support local. Because believe me when I say, the chamber would not be here without you. Thank you. And now we hope this presentation enlightens you about our great city and its future vision. And now I'd like to welcome our honored guest, Mayor Denise McRae.
Thank you very much, Victoria, and thank you to everybody who's here. Many of you are either neighbors or friends, and some of you are just acquaintances. But I want to thank you for asking me to speak. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you today to share the state of the community of Oregon City. I have a few written remarks that I would like to go over with you. And speaking of what you're saying, shop local, if I may brag for a moment. This dress is from Mary Rose, so one of our local downtown businesses. I'm always just a little cold, so I'm wearing a shawl. So anyway, thank you, Julie, for providing me the opportunity to go downtown and shop local. So it's also exciting to be able to be here today in person without as many restrictions that we've had to deal with in the past, as many of you know. It's just one of the examples of how things have changed in Oregon City. And through it all, Oregon City continues to move forward. The phrase trying times has been a recurring theme over the past few years. The pandemic, ice storms, fire, everything seemed to test our fortitude and trying our resolve and trying our patience. It seems as if life is trying everything except to get easier. But through it all, our community continued to come together and show just what kind of spirit and willpower that we have. It takes a community like Oregon City to keep going strong for 180 years. And as I like to tell my friends in Portland, you are our suburb. Thank you very much. It takes strong leadership and a commitment to our community to provide the services that our residents have come to expect and deserve despite the many challenges we've had. I'd like to take a moment to recognize all of our department heads who lead these efforts on a daily basis. Community Development Director Paula Radich, raise your hand, or I'm not going to make you all stand up. Library Director Greg Williams, City Recorder Jacob Wiley, Police Chief Jim Dan, Public Works Director John Lewis, Parks and Recreation Director Kendall Reed, Finance Director Matt Zook, Economic Development Manager James Ram, IT Director Michael Dubai, Human Resources Director Patrick Foyles, Jared Lehman, our Communications Manager, and last but not least, Tony Conkle. He is the rudder that keeps everything going in our city and steers us on a straight and steady course. Without him, I don't think I would be able to do this job. And many of you don't know that I knew Tony long before he was the city manager and I was the mayor. I was a mere citizen in the Laughlin neighborhood, and I went to the department to ask him something. And he said, well, I think you're going to have to take care of this. It's not on script, it's off script. So you're going to have to do this. And I just looked right at him. I said, no, Tony, I'm not going to replace these trees. And you know how much I care about trees. It was a situation, and Tony said, well, okay, let's see how we can come to a mutual agreement. And we did. And that's been the basis of our relationship ever since then. So I feel like I got a long and steady relationship with him, and we both are planners. So, you know, we all kind of have that thinking in the same way. But to be honest with you, it feels like longer than it really was. But the city in August and this past November had 2 elections. And I know very well about that since I had to run in both of them. But in November, Oregon City did something for the first time. We had a top 2 voting system. We've never really done that before. And Commissioner Admar was elected to his position, and Rocky Smith was re-elected. And of course, I had the honor of being elected mayor both in August and in November. And with my election, there was another vacancy. Again, the city commission considered several applicants and chose Mike Mitchell to fill out that term, which was he's filling out the remainder of my former term. He has a strong background in civic engagement in Oregon City, and Commissioner Mitchell was recently elected as commission president and has taken on numerous committees and duties that I can't always get to throughout the city and the region. And today he stepped in for me because I was in a meeting about I-205 tolling. He spoke and he had this open house he had today. Now that we once again have a full city commission, I can say I am very proud that we have the most diverse commission that we have ever had in the city history. And I'm very proud of it. Well, let's talk about some other things going on in Oregon City. Jump-starting urban renewal in Oregon City has been a challenge for many years. In 2023, we have the opportunity to make up for that. The Urban Renewal Commission unanimously approved the 11th Amendment to the Urban Renewal Plan last year, which identified a new mission, new goals, and projects that will create a framework for decision-making and make the process of reviewing and considering development easier and will enable the community to see action and results. The Urban Renewal Commission has worked for many months to identify a plan that provides accountability for how those funds are going to be invested and clarifies the goals to improve the community and targeted projects that will make a return on investment. And we all are conscious about the ROI. The Urban Renewal Vision Statement identifies the need to create recognizable, vibrant destination that will provide access to various amenities, including an enjoyable visitor and recreational experience, well-presented historic venues, a livable community with efficient transportation options, and sound investments in infrastructure. The priorities of that plan were identified by the Urban Renewal Commission after numerous meetings and listening sessions throughout the community. And those priorities are, I believe they're up on the screen, so I won't read through all of them. You can read them yourselves. But we're very proud that we were able to come to a decision about what were the highest profile sites that need to be redeveloped. And you'll notice that several of those belong to the city of Oregon City because we want to demonstrate to you that we can do the job of reinvesting in our own properties, or I should say our properties. The Oregon Court of Appeals issued a long anticipated decision a couple of months ago addressing Section 59E of the Oregon City Charter. Section 59E severely limited the use of urban renewal funds as an economic development tool by restricting their use. The Court of Appeals' final opinion in that challenge to Section 59E of the charter basically said that provisions that attempt to limit urban renewal are not valid because it is a state function that was designated to the cities. We affirm the trial court, concluding that Section 59E is preempted by ORS Chapter 457, and that ORS Chapter 457 does not violate the city's home rule, and that nothing in Section 59E survives that conclusion. So what remains in the charter is the requirement that prior to issuance of any debt, the Urban Renewal Agency will seek voter approval for that debt. The Urban Renewal Commission has prepared a ballot measure that will be on the ballot this May on the 16th, and the measure will ask voters, many of you in this room, to allow the Urban Renewal Agency to borrow the $44 million through bonding and other measures that accomplish at least the first 3 projects. Now, they aren't in order of priority, but we can accomplish those first 3 goals. So if passed, the bonds would be paid back through urban renewal revenues already being collected from within the district, and no additional funds will be necessary to cover the obligation. There will be no new taxes. The city looks forward to working with Clackamas County to investigate the options to reuse the Clackamas County Courthouse, and I would say the historic Clackamas County Courthouse on Main Street as the new courthouse is being built on Red Springs Court. The courthouse brings a significant number of users to Main Street during the weekday, and transitioning to a new use that supports downtown is necessary to limit the impacts of that relocation. This is a key priority for me. Another key element that enhances livability and really sets Oregon City apart is its parks. We have a very active Parks and Recreation Department in Oregon City that continues to provide new and exciting opportunities for our residents to enjoy their community despite the shortfall maintenance dollars. And I think a couple of members of our Park and Recreation Advisory Committee are here today. So I know how hard you work, and thank you. The latest park for our system was open last May. Hazel Grove Park is a beautiful ADA accessible facility in the Hazel Grove Westland Farms neighborhood, with plenty of space and structures for families to play, a scenic winding path that provides a trail to walk through while maintaining the integrity of the grounds. And if you haven't been there, the trees that were left on the site that provide this ambiance for the path. It's just amazing. Speaking of Clackamas Park, I'd also like to thank the Water and Environmental Services Department, who through our Good Neighbor Agreement has made significant investments in improving Clackamas Park area safety and parking at the Clackamas River Trail. There was tree trimming and sidewalk improvements, and thank you so much to Wes. Also on the May 16th ballot, for some of you that aren't familiar with the Park Place neighborhood, is that we have a park in Park Place called Park Place Park. And it's been, yes, I know, it's just kind of, and maybe we'll have a new name for it as the neighborhood decides they want to do that. This ballot measure calls for a 49-foot dedication connecting Front Avenue to Hiram Avenue and removing the need for the street that's platted to go right through the middle of the park. So we don't want that. And you can see that right there. So that roadway where it is right now platted would go through the middle of the park. So we would like to move that over so that it does not do that. And this proposal is consistent with the Park Place Park Master Plan. Many of you were in the crowds this past fall from both Oregon City and West End and all over the region when we came together to celebrate one of our many historic icons, the Arch Bridge celebration. And I can tell you, we could not have done it without John Williams from West End and Tony Conkle from Oregon City. The event celebrated the diverse culture that had called this area home for the past century and longer. It also served as another example of the partnerships between the city and the many groups who volunteer and all have the same goal. And that makes Oregon City the best version of itself. This event further solidified our ongoing partnership with the city of West Lynn, who we continue to meet with on a regular basis to solve problems and provide opportunities of mutual benefit. This event was just an example of our community's heritage and showcasing our identity. That is why it's been a major component of our tourism marketing efforts to make sure Oregon City remains on the map for visitors in the Portland region and beyond. Just for that, how many of you were there? Raise your hand. It was a blast. I was exhausted, but it was a blast. Well, the other thing I want to talk to you about is roads. Now, they may not seem to be an exciting part of our city, but obviously it's something we all depend on. We drive on them every day, walk on them every day, bike on them every day. The latest improvement you will see is thanks to grant funding from the Oregon Department of Transportation. Yes, the Oregon Department of Transportation, and work will soon begin on improvements to Holcomb Boulevard in the areas near Holcomb Elementary School. There will be 7-foot sidewalks, 6-foot bike lanes, a crosswalk with flashing signage, and other improvements aimed to make it safer for students to walk to school and home. Work should kick off on that project this summer with opening scheduled to coincide with the start of the school year in fall of 2024. Now that I mentioned funding from ODOT, and that's a local partnership, we need to hear more about that when it comes to ODOT and the continued progression towards tolling on I-205. The city continues to exercise all options to stop the plan or at least find ways to address the many concerns residents have. The diversion of traffic onto our city roads, including those West End, are not meant to handle that type of traffic. The increasing costs for our residents when we are already dealing with so many other monthly budget issues are two issues we hear most about. How much is this going to cost? How does it affect me? Well, I can tell you from my conversations almost every day in the last 6 to 8 months, it's going to affect all of us substantially, which is why the city is working so hard to make sure that the timing for tolling for Oregon City and West Lynn does not happen in 2024. The issue that we have is that timing does not coincide with when the rest of it's supposed to come online, which is the following year. So you have all gone to the same conclusion we have. We don't want to need a test case, nor do we feel that it is equitable. It puts a disproportionate impact on Oregon City and West End. The truth of the matter is, as I said during a recent commission meeting, that ODOT is operating under orders from the legislature. As such, only the legislators themselves can have any real impact on these plans. If you share these concerns, everyone writing their representative, Mr. Meek and Ms. Hartman and Mr. Gamba, Ms. Walters, any of the legislators in our area. Hopefully the state will bring everyone to the table, not just to hear concerns, but to listen to us and to hopefully take meaningful action to address and alleviate our concerns and issues. We've heard from some of our legislators, and I will not say who, that we are just complaining and whining. But what I have told them is that these are the real problems, these are unintended consequences that they did not anticipate. And again, we don't want to have our communities severely impacted. Well, now that I've told you about a few things that we've done, I'd like to take a few more minutes to share with you about where I see I can say we think we are going. So many of you may be aware that in early 2021, the City Commission came together in a goal setting session, and we did this a little differently than we've ever done before, and we focused on some goals. We just did this 2 weeks, was it 2 weekends ago, 3 weekends ago? Seems like it was just yesterday for the next biennium. And we worked hard with our commissioners and our staff people to create a roadmap for how we're going to accomplish the goals. Full report on the goals will be issued in the coming weeks from our consultant, which will see much of our focus remains the same as we continue the good work that was performed in the last 2 years. You can see that some of the things that we focused on are very similar, but the projects and the strategies that are going to be under those goals are advanced towards what we need to accomplish today. So we want to continue to promote DEI in our community. We want to invest in future capital needs, hence the Holcomb Boulevard project. Some other projects, Copperfield Road is going to be getting some improvements. Those are just a small example. Goal 3, community engagement. That is one of our highest priorities. And we also want to make sure our citizens are informed and that they understand what we're doing in terms of the policy process. We're again moving towards step 2 in our strategy to implement homelessness. We've actually, through the Oregon Mayor's Association, asked for a direct allocation from the legislature to enable us to solve our local problem with dollars rather than somebody else telling us what we need to do to solve that problem. 121 cities have signed on to that, and that has been sent to our to the state legislature. I don't know how it will fare, but at least we had to try to say, here's how we think we can solve this on a local level. Promoting tourism and supporting economic development. Mr. Mitchell and I today attended the grand opening for Adventist Credit Union. That is economic development. Supporting diverse housing options. So if we could just get through what we're doing right now with our middle housing and not having their mandate come down from the state, we can start implementing that. And you've seen some new construction going on the wall adjacent to Morale Avenue, 7th Street. That's some middle housing that's coming. We also want to ensure that our residents have access to quality, high-paying jobs, and that we remain a key area of focus for our economic development department as they bring businesses to our community. But economic development is not just about big companies. It's about the mom and pop locally owned businesses that give our city its identity. That is why our successful entrepreneurial loan program was so great last year, and we continued it to this year, creating opportunities to bring fruition to the visions of our business community and our partners downtown Oregon City Association and the Chamber. Of course, they'll need workers. That's where the Talent Ready program comes in. This program will provide support for Oregon City residents who are looking for job skills and set forth on a new path. As you know, tourism remains a vital part of our city's economy, and promoting tourism activities within the community has been improving. Staff is working with it's a community, we're working with community clubs consider changing the way tourism market in the chamber, where opportunities and amenities are marketed in our city. We're in the early stages of determining how tourism promotion efforts might be handled, not just by the city, but the creation of a destination marketing organization. And for those of you familiar with Mountain Territory, they are a DMO. We are going to be looking into whether that is the right approach for Oregon City to take. So that is an arm that would be doing all of our marketing and promotion. But we have to make sure that it's cost effective and that's going to work for us. So we're going to be meeting, the commissioners will be meeting to talk about that in the future. In the meantime, we continue to showcase Oregon City as a destination. One key component that makes our community attractive to visitors is our unique events. We will soon be accepting applications for local events from grants that are designed to give them the capital that they need to continue to showcase the character of our community. And I think we just approved that last night. And that's going to be coming through our Arts Commission for one. And then, of course, no conversation would be complete witho't talking about the Willamette Falls. The Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ron continue to make progress on improving and removing buildings from the property and working to implement environmental remediation projects in coordination with state and federal agencies. The city is looking forward to working with Grand Ron on the potential changes to the development plan that have been adopted for the property once they are comfortable with sharing and submitting this information. So last night at our commission meeting, I had the privilege of appointing 15 outstanding students to the first Oregon City Youth Advisory Commission, and this was spearheaded by Commissioner Morrow. The Youth Advisory Commission shall be guided by the belief that local involvement as a young person is critical to ensuring a well-informed and engaged citizenry in the future, and to provide opportunities for them to become members who are knowledgeable and have leadership skills necessary to be active contributors in our community. And I'm happy to say that we got volunteers from each of the schools, including North Baptist Christian School, Oxla, and Case, and Oregon City High School. So very excited. We are looking forward to continuing our work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is a subject that I am passionate about. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, it's a principle that each and every one of our staff in the city agrees with me. When interviewing the students for the Youth Advisory Commission, I was proud to hear many of the students mention Oregon City's diversity as one of the things they liked. However, they also mentioned that we needed work in other areas. Mental health came up over and over again from the students about how we need to do something to help not just the students, but everyone. And then there was the issue of diversity, not just the D, the E, and the I, but the A, accessibility. We are going to be working on that with them. However, to let you know that work is still needed to be done, and that everyone, to make sure that everyone in Oregon City feels like they have a place and a voice at the table. It's because then, when each and every person in Oregon City is equitably represented, can our city truly move forward? As you all know, the past few years have not been without their challenges. And our staff has been tested, I think, to the max, but they keep bouncing back because they care about this community. And our work with them shows that we have a dedicated team at the city, and the residents care deeply about the community working together for the benefit of all. I am proud to say that the state of our community is strong and that we are poised for success in the future. Thank you again for this incredible opportunity to share and highlight the community we all call home, Oregon City. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And now we're going to take just a few minutes to set up our community roundtable. We can welcome Dr. Tim Cook, President of Plaquemines Community College. Dr. Dale Spitzer, Superintendent of the Oregon City School District. Mayor Denise.
I did want to say quickly, but I forgot to mention that one of our police department captains is here, Don Davis. I didn't list him in the list, but I caught him out of the corner of my eye. It's a too like you.
Yes. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, Dr. Spitzer, what are the three most significant accomplishments of 2022?
Well, hi, everyone. First, thank you so much for coming this afternoon, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to be on this panel and be speaking to you today. So I worked with my team because, as many of you know, I joined the Oregon City community mid-year last year. Rounding my first year, it's been a great year. But 2022 encompassed other things besides just me. And so I worked with my team to kind of give some highlights. So I would say the first thing that we're just really proud of is getting all of our kids, well, many of our kids back into our schools full time. We really struggled, obviously, with the pandemic with distance learning. We had to come back with social distancing in the buildings. It was really challenging. And so just being back in our buildings and getting to know our students and getting those connections back has just been really, really important. You'll hear more about this as we move forward, but obviously there's been some challenges that have been that have surfaced with having our kids back, but getting them in the doors and just getting back in community has been key. The strategic planning. So one of the things that I'm really proud of is I came in and just had the opportunity through support of our school board to get to know the community. We discovered that it was time for us to line up with our state 4-year cycle and get a really strong strategic plan. We've had an incredible turnout. Our survey had almost 1,700 people that gave feedback. We had over 120 people signed up to take spots that surfaced around 45. We snuck in a few. We're supposed to have 40, but we had 45 people on our strategic plan. We're really excited about that. It's still in the mix, but just that first effort of getting people out has been wonderful. And then I would just say we have completed our bond work. So we have 2 brand new schools. Tumwata has been completely, those of you who've been around Ogden, Tumwata has been completely remodeled, and then Gardner was built, and it's amazing. And we've also had safety improvements at all of our schools, and that's been wonderful in terms of making our staff and students feel more secure, and there's just beautiful improvement. So if you haven't been out to our schools, I encourage you to swing by.
Well, I would have to say, number one, something I mentioned at the beginning of my talk was us getting through all of those environmental events. And to me, that was a big accomplishment. The staff really pulled together, and I'm throwing COVID in there as well. It's just been seeming like one thing after the other, and our staff has really pulled through for the community. I remember being out in on Claremont Way when we were doing the free yard dumps, and how happy everybody was to be there working to get that debris cleared up. And they were so grateful to the city. I rode around with two or three guys that I didn't even know, and Larry Mosley, and we were around in the neighborhoods picking up garden debris everywhere. So it's a lot of fun. So I would have to say that would be one. It was an accomplishment getting through all that. Number two, I would have to say the commission that I am privileged to work with. Doesn't seem like a city accomplishment, but I think the diversity of opinions not only complements the diversity of our backgrounds, but that it really shows me and the rest of the people in this community that Oregon City is changing. And we hope it's all for the better. I think it's for the better. I would have to say us implementing a diversity, equity, inclusion process, along with the appointment of our youth advisory committee. I mean, I could go on and on. There's more than 3, I think, but I'm gonna stop there, hand it over to my colleague here.
Well, I think you'll hear some themes from Clackamas Community College too, and I just want to say thank you for allowing me to participate in this tonight. It's a privilege to be here. So we also at the college wanted to celebrate just being open again, and having people really coming back. We, during the pandemic, officially opened our Wachino Welcome Center, named after Chief Wachino, the last chief of the Clackamas Indians, who went out of space, but hadn't had a chance for people to be in it. So seeing people in that is pretty exciting. We've got this wonderful maker space in our industrial technology center that now it's being used, it's sitting there. So getting people back in is and using the campus and having it feel like a college campus again is a real accomplishment this year. And then I would also say our DEI work, we're really proud of that. We started offering, we were pretty known for our early childhood education program. We started offering it entirely in Spanish this last year, and those classes filled up immediately. And we actually have folks from CUNY in New York actually sending cohorts to us, because as far as we know, we're the ones in the country that do this program entirely in Spanish. And responding to our student needs, we have a number of positions. We used to call them advisors or counselors. We now call them navigators that are bilingual and are helping our community that way. And we also have been inviting folks to our campus. Hopefully some of you have been participating in our Juneteenth celebration, or Summer Connections, or Indigenous Peoples Day. some of the other activities that we've been doing for campus over the last year. We'll be doing those more this next year too. So please come. And then the last one I want to mention is we are just finishing up our 10-year concept master plan to help direct us for the next 10 years. And so we want to still make sure that we are on the cutting edge of offering workforce training for everyone here in Oregon City and Clackamas County. So we've done some work and made sure that we're really looking ahead and know that for sure that we need to expand our wildland fire for some of the reasons the mayor's talked about, our horticulture programs, our healthcare programs, and I guess the overall theme there is really partnerships. We take those very seriously. Communities literally are middle names, so we're looking for where we can intentionally partner with different associations, programs here in Oregon City and beyond. And I've got some examples for that I'll mention later. And then we are also exploring affordable housing for campus. That we all know the need for housing in general, and our students also fall into that as well. So I'm cautious to tell people we're not interested in having Animal House at Clackamas Community College, but we are interested in making sure that we've got places that our students can actually live in order.
Next question.
Oh, just off on the next one. Okay.
So what are the 3 challenges we're facing in 2020?
Yeah, only 3. Well, I wanted to do more on the achievements too, so maybe I feel that. So the biggest challenge we faced at community colleges across the country faced was decreased enrollment during the pandemic. At Clackamas, we dropped almost 30% enrollment over that time. And it makes sense if you think about our students are working adults with kids and trying to manage their own kids learning, trying to work, trying to live during all that time. So they had to give, and for many of them it was school. And so I'm happy to report that this quarter right now, which we're finishing up finals week is next week, we're actually up 7% over last year this time. And then when spring quarter will start first week of April, we're actually right now trending about 12% up. So people are coming back, they're feeling comfortable again and going back to classes. So that challenge though, we're obviously still not at those pre-pandemic levels. And I don't know how long it's going to take to get back up there. I mean, education has fundamentally changed in some ways. Along with that, I have to give my just the decline or reduction in funding and resources. Unfortunately, the governor's budget, reduced our even our funding to stay flat by 3%. So we're kind of going into the session in the hole, so to speak, and we're trying really not to cut programs or cut staff. But we have some work to do to try to get the state funding up to a level where we're able to do that. So that continues to be a challenge for us. And then the other one that's probably maybe unique to us is just figuring that right balance of online and in-person teaching and student services as we try to figure out what that looks like. I'd like to point out prior to the pandemic, we offered about 10% of our classes online or in some sort of hybrid form. But within 10 days of the pandemic started, we had 100% online. And I was told for years, oh, we can possibly have this class online, we can possibly have to do it. Suddenly we were. And so the question was, boy, when things open up again, are we just going to have all these face-to-face classes, or what that's going to look like? Well, students vote with their feet, and what many of them still wanted was some sort of online or hybrid class. So today, about 60% of our classes are back face-to-face, and about 40% of them are online or hybrid or some form like that. And I don't know if that's the magic ratio. We're still trying to sort that out and figure out, what makes that work and how to get that balance right. But that's going to be a continuing, I think, challenge as we sort of navigate what learning looks like.
Well, I'm going to start small and then go big. I would have to say, I agree with you, declining revenues. There's not enough money to go around to do everything we want to do. So we have to be very prudent and fiscally responsible with what we do have. I'd say another thing that's a challenge is finding enough people to fill the positions that we have vacant. We are lacking people everywhere. Our police department, I just talked to the chief, they interviewed a whole bunch of people. There's a lot of tests they have to go through. You're lucky to get 1 or 2 out of them. Then they have to go to training. It's the same way with all the other positions. Probably the third thing, there's a third thing, the fourth thing, so obviously homelessness. Again, I'm really hopeful that this proposal by the Oregon Mayor's Association will be successful or at least get some notice. Because we are trying as cities to come up with solutions to our own problems. Obviously, I totally am. And I know I'm laughing about it, but I can tell you that it's one of those things that has just continued to occupy my time and our staff's time. We didn't budget for any of that. We didn't allocate resources to spend hours and hours reviewing 300+ page environmental analysis reports. We still have all the other work of the city to do. And then I would just say, continue to work towards getting people engaged in their city. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity.
Not gonna talk about my tour. Okay, I promise, I won't. You might bet your buses. Yes, yeah. So I would say our three challenges, we're really focusing, especially as we work through our strategic plan, on serving each and every student and understanding their unique needs. There has been significant learning loss. And so being able to differentiate and support all of our kids, re-engage them, push them all, support them all to high levels, but still understand their unique needs. And like Denise mentioned earlier, our students are very aware of the mental health needs in their homes, in their classrooms, with their peers, with themselves. And so there's real need out there, and not as much support that is necessary to serve all of our needs. So that's been a challenge, which completely coincides with the second one, which again is staffing. We're really struggling to fill all of our positions. Things like bus drivers, we are in a place where we sometimes have to cancel our buses and rely on families to transport, which is a real hardship on families and definitely disproportionately impacts some of our students. But we normally have about 75 drivers, and I think we have 52 amazing people that come to work that we're so thankful for. But without drivers, it's difficult to get kids there. So we're trying to think out of the box, but that's just one of the many examples. Students that experience special, that have exceptional learning needs. And we're having trouble hiring for all these very specific needs of our students, which makes it difficult to serve each and every. I would say the final thing, and this is, we kind of came out of the gate in the fall talking about this, that Oregon City School District is such a great place and we want to tell our own story. We really want to share all the great things that are going on in our classrooms and in our schools. We revamped our website. We try to get the message out, but as we are a microcosm of a larger community here in Oregon City, but Oregon and across the nation, everything we see on a large scale, we see on a small scale. So we need to make sure that we continue to listen to each other, to problem solve, to come together as a community, and to make sure that we collaboratively build what we want for our kids and for our community.
So what project or program are you looking forward to in 2023?
You know, first? No? Okay. I know, nice. All right, so I would say we're really excited about our strategic plan. It just is really going to drive our work. It's the voice of our community, and it's going to help us use our funds wisely. It's difficult when you don't have a North Star to know where you're going. And so being able to have clarity and head that direction is going to be great. Along with that is coordinated systems, just making sure that as we came back, we had changes in staffing, we had changes in processes. And so there's a lot of like, how do we do it again? What do we do again? So just revamping and redesigning these coordinated systems to meet student needs and community needs. And then the last one, which is directly related to our chamber, one of the big pieces is coming out of our strategic plan, and we hear it from our students, is the concept of being career and college ready. We know that not all careers require college, some do, and sometimes you start a career and then you realize you do want some more college, but helping all of our kids be career and college ready so they have choice, which will allow us to do internships and job shadows, and job talks, and Victoria and I have been working a little bit together, and we're starting to retarget some of our funds for that, but our kids are eager to partner with our community members and make those connections. That's how we create a vibrant community and keep our employees here and our community members here. And so just listening to the intro, I was really excited because it all lines up. So we're excited about our career and college pathways program.
I would have to concur and say that the continued implementation of our 2023-25 goals is going to be the key to projects. And under those projects, I would have to say the two under that I'm most excited about are the continuation of our diversity and equity and inclusion. And we're going to be going into budget session here pretty soon. One of my favorite topics, besides I-205 tolling, is the budget process, and we're going to need to allocate funds for that. And also coming out of the Youth Advisory Council, whatever this amazing project that they are going to work on, and maybe it'll be 2 projects, I don't know. We have 15 students and maybe it'll be 3 projects, I don't know, but I'm excited about that.
All right, we are quite excited to celebrate the completion of our 2014 bond projects this summer. And through the work of Shelley Greeny, William Gifford in this room, many of you that helped us pass that bond back in 2014, it really fundamentally changed the campus. And I mean, fundamentally, there are, in the Oregon City campus, there's really 3 new buildings that as a result of that bond, and quite a bit of work throughout the campus to beautify that campus. If you walk on it, if you come on it and see that are reflections of that bond work. Also another building on our Harmony campus, it's worked down in the Wilsonville campus. So we're looking forward to celebrating. And I will just tell you right now, August 5th, put it on your calendars, we're throwing a big party. And we're going to have like trucks and food and music, and I've asked for all sorts of really loud kind of fun things on that day to happen. We want the community to come and really celebrate with us, because it's because of all of you that we're able to do this. And so that I think that's a big one. And FYI, probably not a surprise, it also helps us kind of as we have our concept master plan and thinking about our next bond as we go in. So it's really a celebration. We're not gonna ask you to do anything except for come and have fun with us and celebrate community. But it's also for us helping to segue into our next 10 years. And I'm going to sneak in another one. Many of you know too, we're partnering with Clapham Sponsors in Medicine to open a free clinic on our campus. We hope to have that open by now. It got a little bit delayed with construction, but it's set to open in May. So we're pretty excited to have that for our health science students to get practical experience, for our students to get healthcare that need that, and for the community to come on and get free healthcare on our campus and get exposed to education as well. So I snuck in.
How have your personal experience in life shaped your goals and approach to leading in Oregon City?
This is probably the easiest one for me to answer. Some of you know, but probably most of you don't know that I actually grew up in Oregon City. I'm a native of Oregon City. I went to Holcomb. So when you show Hope that improvement right by Holcomb grade school, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I went to Ogden Middle School, and I graduated from Oregon City High School. Proud graduate of Oregon City High School. So I'm really a product of education here in town. But I also spent, my weekends on my bike riding down to the Oregon City Library with my backpack full of books. I would ride down to Clapham Park. I learned how to swim in the Oregon City pool, and how to drive on Clapham Community College campus. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. My parents were supporters of education, but they weren't educated. And so for me, I kind of stumbled into college, and unfortunately had some folks that helped me figure that out and navigate those systems. But I've spent over 30 years now of my career, and I'm really happy to do it in my hometown now, helping to make sure everyone has access to this dream. Being able to really, go and do what you want. Not everyone needs college. I am a firm believer of that, but everyone needs to have access if they want to do it. And I want to make sure that, Oregon City remains a place that, provides a good quality public education and opportunities for people to continue on. So this town shapes my leadership and my thinking in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's even really surprising as I'm looking at it evolves, remembering things, or being in this building. I think we had like a 10-year reunion here some time ago, and remembering that. Just there's places all around that will trigger for me memories that have an impact on leadership continuing.
Well, we have something else in common. I'm also the first person in my family to go to college. Those of you that know me know that I grew up on military bases, and my dad was in the military for a number of years, and his influence on my life shaped me. I can't remember a time when I wasn't volunteering for something. And I told a friend of mine yesterday in a podcast interview I was doing that I remember being in middle school and volunteering to be a milk monitor. Now, for those of you who are old enough to remember what milk monitors did, we ran around the school with a wagon full, a wagon with a cooler, and we handed out milk to all the other classes, because on military bases, all of our food was free. We had cafeteria, and so I remember doing that, and I don't know if that was the catalyst, but wherever I have lived in my life, and particularly the places I've lived in Oregon, I've always become involved in the community, because I felt it was very important to contribute back to the place that you live in. I think I made a statement in my campaign that Oregon City has given me a lot. I have lived here many years, not many, as long as many of some of you, but enough that, I might be getting into the native category here. And I always felt that it was important to do that. My father instilled in me a sense of community, a sense of obligation, and that you need to leave the place that you're in better than where you found it. So I would say that has led to my approach in leadership. I'm better now about putting my hand down and not volunteering for everything, because I do have a number of obligations that I've already committed to that I want to do well. I don't want to overextend myself. Although I've had a friend or two come up in the last month and say, could you just do this? It's only going to be this long. And sometimes I don't always say no, but leadership is something that I feel is a privilege. It is an obligation. And the decisions that you make in a leadership position may affect somebody in some way. And you have to be careful about what you're doing and be thoughtful and think about that, because you do owe passing down something from your time to the next time. And it's one of the reasons why I own a historic house here in Oregon City, because I want to leave it better than I found it. And it's a legacy. I'm just a caretaker. I hope that it'll be around for another 112 years.
Yeah, so I too am the first person in my family to go to college. I actually was born here in Oregon City, and then grew up in Wilsonville, and most of my career was in Hillsborough. I served a lot of students who were experiencing poverty, and served very diverse communities. And I know from my upbringing as well as my work that we can pretty much do anything if we do it together. I know through mentorship, through teaching, that sometimes it just is one person that can light a fire on somebody that they didn't even know was deep within them. I was teasing a friend of mine. I was out shopping yesterday, and I ran into this young lady, and she was checking me out, and she said, I think I know you. Were you in this school? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I'm Jasmine. And I was like, I know you. And so we had this little conversation, and I said, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. I said, no, when you were a little girl, you told me you wanted to be a nurse. And she was like, I did say that. I actually want to be a phlebotomist. And I was like, then let's go. Let's be a phlebotomist. Gave her my number. I said, let's meet. And it's those kinds of little connections that I know these people in this room, as well as our entire community, can give our students just a new idea, a new potential path, lower your belief in them, and we really can create the community and the futures for kids that perhaps they never knew were possible. I know I'm definitely a product of that. I sit here with a doctorate with parents that both dropped out of school prior to 8th grade. And I get the privilege and the honor of being a superintendent and having a great impact on kids. So I would say that drives my leadership, knowing that if we work together, we can do anything.
Fun one. If you could choose a famous person from history to be on your team for 2023, who would it be and why?
Well, I'm glad I'm going first. This has been the conversation with anybody I talked to all week, like who would you say? And I thought a lot about my team. And I think right now who we would choose as a team would be Mother Teresa. And the reason being is I think we are at a really important time to listen well, to be humble, to have a service heart, and to be out in our community. And we are really wanting to do that. And there's a lot going on. There's lots of distractors, toll bridges, budgets. But when all is said and done, it's how do we set those other things aside and get out and connect with community and connect with each other. So that's who we would choose.
Well, I didn't consult my 2 colleagues over here, 2 friends about who they might choose, so I'm just gonna say that if I had my choice, somebody joining our leadership team, I would have to say it would be Michelle Obama. Because I think she would inspire us, she would drive us to the hoop, and she has a lot of friends in places that could help us. And I'm reading her latest book and I'm, completely just inspired and enamored by what she has gone through, what she's been through, and she can bring Barack along if she likes, that's okay. But I think I would have to say Michelle Obama for right now. Now, next week it might be somebody else, but the question today is who, so.
Michelle Obama might be able to stop the tolls.
I know. Write that down.
So if I'm being completely honest here, the first person that came to my mind when I looked at this question was David Bowie, because I was like, how cool would that be to have David Bowie in the team? And then I thought, well, that's completely unrealistic, because I would just be saying, hey, David, play another song. You're never get anything done. So I was like, I gotta think about this. And actually, it was pretty easy for me. Nelson Mandela has been my North Star for as long as I can remember. And I wrote down a few of the traits that I've always tried to emulate from Mr. Mandela. He was always positive, thinking about what could be. He was visionary, this is big picture, focused on goals and a mission beyond himself, had remarkable endurance, was humble and full of hope. So I would love to have him on the team.
Fantastic. Nelson Mandela, Michelle Obama, Mother Teresa.
Mayor McGriff, I would. Standards. All right, we are ready to do split the buck. So everybody, get your tickets out.